This is the Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul in Philadelphia. It is a Catholic church that serves as the head church of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Philadelphia. It is not the biggest nor the most important church in the Catholic world. That would be this one. But the Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul is by all accounts a beautiful building both outside and in. In the more than 160 years that the church has been in operation, it has witnessed innumerable masses, funerals, weddings, baptisms, including my own, and 2 papal masses headed by John Paul II in 1979 and Francis in 2015. The Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul is one of an estimated 350 to 400,000 Christian churches in the United States of America alone. These churches are not only Catholic, but Protestant, Orthodox, non-denominational. The different denomination types of churches have been growing since a cross first appeared in North America. But what is not growing are congregations. In 2021, for the first time in the history of the United States of America, the percentage of Americans who were members of any house of worship, not just a Christian church, fell below half, reaching 47%. This decline is directly proportional to the increasing number of Americans who do not affiliate with any religion, with most recent stats placing that number at 21% of the American population. Newer generations, my generation included, simply aren't as religious as those prior. There are numerous ways to explain the dwindling number of congregation members in the United States, ranging from the analytical to the philosophical. Regardless of how you choose to justify it, there is no denying that many churches in the United States alone are facing serious existential threats to their continuation as institutions in the modern world. But regardless of whether you're a Christian, an adherent to another faith, an agnostic, an atheist, or of any other classification, it's hard to rebuke the idea that losing these churches would leave a gaping hole in the fabric of many communities and society at large. Equally hard to rebuke is that structures, such as the Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul, are truly beautiful, and that losing them would be an artistic tragedy. The paintings, sculptures, ornaments, architecture, windows, lights, candles, icons that you'll find in churches around the world contribute to the building's singular atmosphere. Along with all these aspects that make churches such havens of contemplation, there is one component, for me at least, that plays perhaps the most important role: silence. I feel that these days we tend to forget about or ignore silence. The modern lives we live are loud, busy, hectic, demanding, overstimulating. But when sitting in an empty church, regardless of belief, silence becomes your acquaintance. You can't help but feel that it has a soul of its own. There are few places you will find where silence has such a permeant and noticeable presence. But I can think of one other. This is the Crystal Mall in Waterford, Connecticut. It opened its doors for the first time on September 30th, 1984, and underwent renovation in 1997. I didn't come to the Crystal Mall to explain its history or the logistics of its operation. If you want to learn more about that, the Wikipedia for the Crystal Mall is surprisingly informative, so I would recommend you visit it. The reason I came to the Crystal Mall is because I, and most others in the New London Waterford community, know that the end is drawing near for this mall. Its decline has been apparent for years now. Sears was the first major store to go, leaving the mall in January 2019. Macy's left in 2021. Bed Bath & Beyond left in early 2023. The Christmas tree shops left in August of 2023. And JCPenney left in spring of 2024. This leaves the Crystal Mall with no remaining anchor tenants and a future that can only be described as bleak. While I was here filming at the Crystal Mall, in the moment, I was only focused on documenting this place. I knew in the back of my mind the deeper reason why I was making this documentary, but again, that was in the back of my mind. I was only focused on capturing this place. I was only focused on interacting with it directly. Looking through my footage after shooting it, I was only concerned with whether the pictures themselves did a good enough job portraying this place. I was in a far more practical state of mind. I believe that most people who came here and still do come here are in a similar state of mind. They didn't come to explore the deeper meaning of this place per se, its place in modern society. They were here for practical reasons. To buy groceries, furniture, luxuries, gifts, art, clothes, to meet up with friends, go on dates, see a Tiffany concert. The list goes on and on. But when we look back, we come to assign certain feelings to these things, feelings that were, in all likelihood, different from those that we felt at the moment when we interacted with these things. We assign certain colors, if you will. All at once, the picture becomes different from what it once was. This was just a mall to so many people in the moment, another place to go about their business. But now, it's something exponentially more profound. Nostalgia is everywhere these days. Even folks of my generation already have nostalgia for their childhoods, and even nostalgia for times that they never lived in. It's a universal feeling that can be both comforting and profoundly melancholic. In particular, we remember places in profoundly human ways. We ascribe our humanity directly to these things. Our memories, our insecurities, our wishes, our regrets. This is why place, in particular, is so powerful. Few things in our lives are able to be given such tender meaning. We, in many ways, humanize these places. They become old friends we used to spend every day with, and when we visit them after a long period of separation, all the memories come rushing back. There are few things more human than this, than ascribing meaning to something that, in the grand scheme of reality, should be meaningless. A mall should just be that, a mall, but it isn't. It is perhaps the ultimate affirmation of life to give meaning to what should be meaningless. And regardless of whether or not these things are actually devoid of meaning in a metaphysical or phenomenological sense, it is truly beautiful to realize just how incredible of an ability it is for us to be able to see life in everything. This mall is alive and here, but it will not be for much longer. We are alive and here, but we won't always be. If this mall and others like it were guaranteed to spend the rest of time just as prosperous as it had been in its prime, would we still care as much about them as we do now? If we were guaranteed immortality, would we find as much meaning in our lives as we can now? For as startling a prospect as it may seem, life is nothing without death. And even though this mall may survive a few more years, maybe even longer, it seems that everybody knows what its fate is. It's for that reason that walking through the Crystal Mall today is like witnessing its final confession. The essence of what this mall is laid out in front of you. All that it has ever been and will be. You see the scars of its painful moments. You see the unrelenting beauty that made it such a happening place to begin with. You see its regrets. You see its triumphs. You see its broken promises. You see its memories. You see your memories. You see humanity.